Everyone knows Julius Caesar was murdered by his friends, but almost no one knows about the mysterious woman history tried to erase his secret, Roman Mistress. Tonight, we uncovered the hidden love story that survived 2,000 years in the shadows. Rome was a city of spies, rumors, and betrayal. One whisper could get you killed. Caesar had wives. Caesar had affairs. But this woman, she was different. No grand titles, no statues, no official records. Just fragments, hints, scandalous lines buried in dusty scrolls. So, who was she? Why was she hidden? And how did her story survive when Rome tried to forget her? By the time Caesar seized control of Rome, he was more than a man. He was a symbol, victorious general, dictator for life. The Senate feared him, the people worshipped him. But power in Rome had a price. Every move was watched, every friendship questioned, every lover a potential weapon. Yet even in this gauge of politics, Caesar kept one relationship carefully in the dark. Ancient writers loved gossip. They recorded affairs, scandals, and bedroom rumors. We hear about Servilia, the noble woman, Cleopatra, the queen, but tucked between lines of political drama, we see strange hints. A woman of low birth with unusual access. A companion seen leaving Caesar's house before dawn. A reference to the dictator's hidden concubine, no name, no family, just a shadow. Historians brushed it off. But when you line up the clues, a different picture emerges. In Rome, not every relationship was about marriage and status. There were free-born women living on the edge of respectability. Courtesans, entertainers, educated companions. They weren't wives. They weren't slaves. They moved in the gray zone in between. These women heard everything. Senators drank with them. Generals confessed to them. If Caesar chose one of them as a secret mistress, she would be both his closest confidant and his greatest liability. We don't have her name, but we can reconstruct her world. The sources suggest she was Roman, not foreign like Cleopatra, not from the top aristocratic families, but educated enough to speak with a man like Caesar. One later writer hints she knew the secrets of many houses, woman who moved quietly among the elite. That sounds less like a fling and more like a trusted listener, a private sounding board for the most dangerous man in Rome. Imagine the conversations no historian heard. Caesar, exhausted from Senate battles, returns home late at night, not to a political marriage, not to a foreign queen, but to the one person who could ask him a question no senator dared. Are you afraid? In a city where everyone wanted something, she could offer the one thing no law could regulate: quiet, private loyalty, and that made her more dangerous than any enemy on the battlefield. On the Ides of March, the knives came out. Brutus, Cassius, men who smiled in public and stabbed in private. When Caesar fell, his allies scrambled for power. His enemies rushed to justify the murder. In that chaos, one question vanished from the record. What happened to the woman who knew his secrets? No trial, no exile, no scandal attached to her name. It's as if the historians agreed she would not exist. Remember who wrote the history of Rome? Elite men with reputations to protect. They wrote about politics, virtue, and great men. A low-born mistress who knew too much didn't fit the story. If she influenced decisions, that threatened the idea that Rome was ruled by reason, not emotion. If she held secrets, mentioning her could expose powerful families generations later. So they reduced her to a rumor, a vague reference, a line you could easily skip over. But erasing a name doesn't erase a life. Here's the twist. Even when history tries to hide someone, tiny clues survive. A marginal note in one manuscript, a throwaway insult in a letter, a legal record hinting at a woman once close to the dictator. Modern scholars started connecting these fragments. Different sources, different centuries, same pattern. A Roman woman tied to Caesar, deliberately blurred out of focus. She has no single biography, but if you read between the lines, you can still feel the outline of her life. So, did Julius Caesar have a secret Roman mistress? The evidence doesn't give us a neat love story. It gives us something more disturbing and more powerful, a reminder that history remembers the names it wants to remember and buries the rest. Somewhere in the gaps of Roman history, there was a woman who loved, listened to, and maybe even advised Caesar himself. Then was written out of the script, and now, 2,000 years later, we finally turn the camera back on her. If you want more hidden stories like this, hit subscribe and let's keep dragging the forgotten people of history back into the light.